On the left, we have our Flux Dev model. On the right, we have our MidJourney model. We're going to start with the Realism prompts. The first prompt up is a hyper-realistic photo of an elderly man sitting on a park bench feeding pigeons with wrinkles and age spots visible on his hands. Right away, we can see on the Flux side, it's obviously AI generated. Anybody that's been working with these AI generators for any amount of time can tell you this is what a typical AI generated image looks like. Everything is very soft. The pigeons, obviously fake. This is not by any stretch of the imagination or a hyper-realistic photo. Now, if we go look at MidJourney, there are obviously some issues here, but look at his hands. There's some age spots you can see, barely, but they are there. Age spots on the skin, on his forehead, around the hairline. The jeans look like there's some actual texture there. The jacket. This looks much more hyper-realistic in every way. So for the first one out of the gate, we are going to give this one to MidJourney. A photorealistic busy city intersection at dusk with cars, pedestrians, and neon signs reflected in puddles after a light rain. So we'll take a look at Flux first. To me, this is just an amazing image. Look at the puddle in the middle of the street. You'll see the reflections are spot on. Take a look at the signs on the right side. You'll see the red perfectly represented in the reflection. And even behind that, you see the purple and the blue sign reflected almost perfectly as well. Obviously, the shading is a little off in the reflection, etc. But this is just amazing. Now, let's take a look at MidJourney. Look at the reflections in the puddle. You'll see the red sign on the left perfectly reflected, the red sign in the middle reflected. You'll see the tower, the different signs on it reflected. This looks amazing. However, when I'm thinking of photorealism, I'm thinking of a style of art and sculpture characterized by the highly detailed depiction of ordinary life with the impersonality of a photograph. While MidJourney looks like a photograph, it is not photorealistic. Those two things are very different. MidJourney looks as if I took some type of photo, maybe even in like the 1990s because it's a little grainy, and gave this to some type of publication. Whereas Flux, to me, is what photorealism actually should be. So for this one specifically, I have to give this to Flux. A realistic sunlit kitchen with a freshly baked apple pie cooling on the windowsill, steam rising, condensation on the window pane. Take a look at Flux. You see the condensation on the window pane, see steam rising from the pie, slightly off as if some air is blowing it. There's nothing off about this image. If I really, really look closely, I can see some things that would say, okay, this is probably AI generated, but I'd have to really look. This is an amazing image. There's nothing I disliked about this image. Now let's go take a look over at MidJourney. Right away with MidJourney, there are some issues. The smoke, it's not rising off of the pie. It kind of looks like the kitchen is on fire or something. No condensation on the windowsill. If you look at the counter, there's weird objects strung about on the counter. And I know this is what MidJourney likes to do, is going over the top and fill the image in with a lot of additional things that could really make it pop. But sometimes less is more, because if you look at Flux, super simple. And for this one, I have to think the simple one's going to win. MidJourney has too many issues, so I'm gonna have to go with Flux on this one. A true-to-life, candid shot of children playing soccer in a dusty street with expressions of joy and determination on their faces. So looking at Flux, this one, again, phenomenal from Flux Dev. Yeah, I don't really have anything bad to say. Obviously, if you've been doing this for any length of time with AI-generated images, you'll be able to tell this is AI-generated. But that doesn't detract from the quality of this output. You look at the soccer ball, obviously it was new at some point. It's used, it's same color as the ground. There's nothing bad about this image from an AI-generated standpoint. Now, let's go over to MidJourney. Right away, you see some glaring differences. The mouths, the faces, a little weird. Mouths are weird. Obviously, Honestly, you could tell from the minute you look at this image that it is AI generated. The soccer ball looks like it was just placed there. It doesn't look like it was kicked once. There's no dirt on it. Yeah, a lot about this image is wrong. There's nothing else to say. Looking at these two side by side, it's clear that the winner of this round goes to Flux Dev.
Knockout! Round 2, fight!
All right, the next section is based on style of prompts. A prompt where it's in the style of a specific artist, a style of Leonardo da Vinci, etc. First prompt is a portrait of a young woman with a pearl earring in the style of Johannes Vermeer. So if you look at the famous painting that this prompt is based off of, and then you look at Flux, these two are practically identical. Flux took the exact painting and recreated it in Flux's own type of way. Any type of art prompt that you give it, it likes to put it in some type of 3D overly rendered abstraction of that art. And you can see that perfectly here. If we go take a look at MidJourney, it does understand what we're asking. The painting, brush strokes, it's much closer to the style of, whereas Flux might have done exactly the same thing. I'm gonna have to give this to MidJourney. A colorful, abstract representation of jazz musicians in the style of Wassily Kandinsky. Again, if we look at the original material from this artist, and then we look at these two images, we'll see on Flux, again, as if some modern graphic designer took the ideas from the original artist and said, I'm going to make a campaign for this client using this same style, some representation of that style. That's what this looks like, which isn't bad, but it's not in the style of. Whereas if we look at MidJourney, it is much closer to the original material. This looks like an actual abstract representation of jazz musicians in the style of that artist. So again, I'm gonna have to give this to MidJourney. A surrealist landscape with melting clocks and elongated figures in the style of Salvador Dali. Again, I absolutely love this. This is similar to another video that we did with the Flux Pro model, where it takes the ideas that Dali would put into his paintings and turn it into this 3D surrealist landscape. I think this is freaking phenomenal. However, if we look at MidJourney's output, there's no question in my mind that this is more true to the style of Dali than Flux. And that's what we're looking for, style of. So for this third and final in this round, MidJourney knocks this one out of the park, 3-0.
Knockout! Round 3, fight!
For our next section, this is prompt adherence. How close do the models follow the prompt? First prompt, it is a futuristic art gallery with paintings coming to life. The Mona Lisa steps out of her frame holding a smartphone, while Van Gogh's Starry Night swirls in 3D nearby. Visitors in unusual outfits observe the animated artworks. Take a look at Flux Dev. I don't think it followed it at all. It only got the art gallery and the two different paintings. Yeah, this is not good. It's just not good. Now, if we go look over at MidJourney, we have the Mona Lisa not really stepping out, but she is holding a smartphone. And then you have Van Gogh's Starry Night swirling nearby. It looks like it's taking over the entire scenery of the background, and it looks like people are actually participating in some type of 3D representation in a room. So for this, I am going to have to give this to MidJourney. It's a surreal bedroom where the floor is grass, a bed floats above it, and several butterflies perch on the headboard. One wall is a bookshelf, another is a waterfall. A chandelier made of jellyfish hangs from the ceiling, casting a soft glow. So let's take a look at Flux. Floor made of grass. The bed is not floating above it. There are several butterflies, but not perched on the headboard. They're just kind of perched on the bed. A bookshelf for one of the walls. Do not see a waterfall for the other wall. A chandelier made of jellyfish hangs from the ceiling, casting a soft glow. It is a jellyfish, but it's not a chandelier made of jellyfish, which implies plural. But still, really good. Now let's head over to MidJourney. The floor made of grass. A bed floats above it. Doesn't float. It's just on a platform there. Several butterflies perched on the headboard. Once again, not really perched, but there are several butterflies kind of floating around there. One wall is a bookshelf. Another is a waterfall. This, it follows. The wall behind the bed bed as a bookshelf. And then we have another wall. It's a waterfall. A chandelier made of jellyfish hangs from the ceiling, casting a soft glow. And you can see how there are strings attached to each of those jellyfish. It looks very much like a chandelier. This follows the prompt much more closely. So we're going to have to give this one to MidJourney. A close-up of a bee's compound eye with each hexagonal lens reflecting a different scene from a spring garden. The bee's antenna should be visible and in focus. Let's take a look at Flux. This is not right. It's not a close-up of the eye. You can see the eye and you can see the antenna, but then it has this weird central thing reflecting a spring garden, but it's not the hexagonal part of the eye, which is what was in the prompt. It's just not good. Now let's go take a look at MidJourney. This is amazing. There's some obvious weirdness going on, right? The hexagons of the eye fade in and it's not fully covering the eye, but this adheres much more closely to the prompt. We have a close-up of a bee's compound eye, the lens reflecting different scene from a spring garden. That's what that is. Those are reflections of a spring garden. And then the bee's antenna should be visible and in focus. I think this got almost every aspect of the prompt correct. MidJourney wins this one 3-0.
Knockout! Round 4. Fight!
This is the final section, and this is text adherence. Similar to prompt adherence, this is how well does the model follow the text or typography prompt that we put into the image. First prompt, a motivational poster with "Embrace the Journey" as the focal point. The text should be in a bold, custom font combining Art Nouveau and futuristic styles with a metallic sheen. Place the text diagonally across a surreal landscape that transitions from a forest to a futuristic city. Looking at Flux, this is really good. Obviously, some issues with that R, 2 N's in journey. Shouldn't be the case. All of this can be fixed in Photoshop. Not a big issue. Now, let's go take a look at MidJourney. And this is an obvious fail. This is what really sucks. If they can get text adherence, they would once again be the go-to model. But for right now, they are not. And for this round, Flux Dev takes it. A vintage style travel ad for Atlantis, the Lost City. Use a weathered, sea-worn Art Deco font for the main title, positioned across the top. Add "Book your underwater adventure today" in a bubble-like font in the corner. Incorporate undersea elements interacting with the text. Let's take a look over at Flux Dev. It says a vintage style travel ad. This looks pretty good. Vintage style. It's not exactly vintage, but close enough. Use a weathered, sea-worn Art Deco font for the main title. Yeah, Art Deco, main title, Atlantis, the Lost City. It doesn't get the "Book your underwater adventure today." It doesn't get that at all. But overall, very well done. Let's head over to MidJourney, where obviously, again, there's a fail. Can't read this. Yep, this is a fail. Obviously, this goes to Flux. A book cover for the Clockwork Butterfly's time-bending quest. The title should dominate, with the clockwork butterfly in an ornate font resembling brass gears. Time-bending quest should appear below in a modern font that looks distorted. Include the author's name, Alexandra Kronos, at the bottom. So if we look at Flux, this is amazing. The only thing is there's not a difference between the clockwork butterflies and the time-bending quest. Those should have been slightly different. Time-bending quest should have been distorted a little bit, but Alexandra Kronos is there at the bottom. The butterfly is brass. This is just phenomenal. And then we go over to MidJourney, and again, it's just a mess. It's a complete mess. And we have to give this whole round total knockout over to Flux. Knockout! So this one was a toss-up. This one, Flux Dev, is tied with MidJourney. In this other video that we did previously, where it was Flux Pro versus MidJourney, there is a huge difference. If you're interested in seeing how well Flux Pro does, I would definitely go check out that video.